I spent 20 Singapore dollars on this gaming mouse. The question is it good, and should you be buying gaming mouse secondhand, or should you just save up and buy a brand new one? Well, let's talk about this HyperX Pulsefire FPS first, and then we'll talk about the other topic that I talked about in this intro. Okay, now before I start this video, if you have any questions you want to ask away down in the description. You have my Discord and my Instagram, or you can ask in the comment section. I reply to everything pretty much anywhere, so ask away. And then since you're down there, might as well hit the like button, because why not? So let's talk about the HyperX Pulsefire FPS first. I'm not going to go too in depth into this because this is a really old gaming mouse, because it came out I think in 2014, 2015. The interest for it probably isn't that high. But the thing is, because it's old and wasn't that popular, you probably can find this for a pretty good price. And I did for 20 Singapore dollars. And it's a pretty unassuming gaming mouse. It was one of HyperX's first entry into the world of gaming mice, and you can tell it's pretty bare in terms of its features, but it is a simplistic mouse that gets the basics pretty right. In terms of its kind of shape and style, I like how the front mouse clicks are pretty low to the ground, and also it's got a very kind of palm grip friendly ergonomic design. In fact, it feels slightly like a Death Adder, but the bottom of the mouse is a bit fatter, sticking out, giving you more external support to your fourth, pinky, and of course thumb. There are grooves on the sides and you grip the mouse that way, and overall the design of the mouse is really guiding your fingers into a palm grip. Although you can claw this mouse pretty decently, I won't recommend it because the shape just isn't conducive for it. And also the material is very slippery. So if you were trying to grip it with a claw grip, the top plastics being so slippery will give you a hard time. Thankfully though, the side does have some rubber grip tape, so if you were trying to claw grip it like a stubborn piece of crap, then you could still claw grip this mouse without too much problems, because rubber, friction. Very nice. In terms of kind of the aesthetics of this mouse, which I don't think should be a main concern with the gaming mouse, it's alright. It's a red and black setup, and I know a lot of people run red and black setups, so that's fine I guess. If you're MKBHD, you'll love this. There's no RGB because it's a very old gaming mouse and it came out before RGB became cheap and common and almost like a must-have. And overall, I think the design is pretty clean. It's nothing too fancy. In terms of the mouse clicks, it's pretty nice. They use Omron switches, if I remember correctly, all around, which is nice. They sound like this. And this is the button behind the scroll wheel. And the scroll wheel sounds like this. And the scroll wheel click sounds like this. Enough ASMR noises? Can we proceed? Alright. So the mouse clicks are pretty nice. I mean, the travel is pretty decent on them. They're all clicky and responsive. It's Omron switches, what you expect. But the only problem I have with this really is that the mouse clicks aren't separate from the main body. So as a result, you've kind of got a less consistent click throughout the kind of click thing. But the thing is, with gaming mice nowadays, it seems like the trend is for the better, and that all the mouse clicks are starting to be separated from the body just for pure performance sake, and that's very nice to see. And with this gaming mouse, it's clearly a sign of the times that it came from. Overall though, I would say the shape and kind of comfort and grip of this mouse is very nice. The thing about a good mouse shape though is that it kind of outlasts its time, because the design of a mouse is not limited by the technology of its time. Unlike the sensor and the clicks and the scroll wheel and maybe the response rate, the refresh rate, all that BS and all the techie stuff, the shape is an ergonomic design that is designed, handcrafted by a human, and it's often not really limited by the technology available at the time. And that's why you still have a lot of people who still love their Microsoft Sidewinder mouse, or still miss their P7X from Logitech, or they miss their Razer original hammerheads, or they miss their ancient mouse because it was really comfortable for them and the shape was really nice. But because it was an old mouse, it doesn't have a good sensor in it and all that stuff, it was limited by the technology of its time. But the beauty of the mouse shape is that if it's good, it's timeless. And the shape of this is simple, and simple usually caters to a large audience and is really comfortable, and in this case it is. It's a pretty good mouse shape, and honestly for 20 Singapore dollars I wouldn't complain. Now going into the internals, on the bottom actually we have two large mouse feet, which I love to see, and I wish more mice will come with massive mice feet like this, just more consistent tracking. I have experience with large mice feet, and it does look like an office mouse from the bottom because of the big mice feet, but I'm not going to complain about that. And then we've got a sensor in here. Now this isn't a laser sensor, thankfully no acceleration, but it is a PMW, I think picks up PMW 3360, which is a old sensor that isn't all that that impressive. Yes, the acceleration is pretty minimal on this particular sensor, but it does spin out if you really flick it hard enough. This, however, doesn't happen all that often. The only time it's actually happened in an actual competitive game was with someone's, I think, Steel Series, or I think it's a Zowie mouse, and it was a CSGO tournament, and he flicked his mouse really hard and just looked to the ceiling because his mouse spun out. Basically, he flicked his mouse so fast that his sensor couldn't read it and spazzed out and gave a weird signal that caused his crosshair to spin out and aim up. People thought he was hacking, but no, obviously it wasn't hacking. It was just his mouse being stupid. So yeah, this sensor is not perfect. It's not like the new Hero sensors or the 3389s, but hey, it's not even close to being bad or intolerable. It doesn't have built-in janky acceleration, and it really gets the job done pretty well. And the cable as well is pretty nice. I forgot to mention that it's red and black and braided, which is very nice. And it's a very good rating too. It's very thin, pretty kind of soft and stuff, pretty flexible, great for bringing along to LAN parties. So would I say that this is a worth it purchase for 20 Singapore dollars? Yeah, absolutely, because it's so cheap at 20 Singapore dollars. I really couldn't complain about anything. Even if it broke with me, you know, even if it broke on me and had the double click issue in like 3 months, it's still a worth it purchase, because $20 for a gaming mouse that gives me a great experience for 3 months is, I think, a pretty decent deal. Of course, if I spent an extra $20, an extra $40 and got a gaming mouse that could last me 2 years, that will be more value. But the thing is, it's expensive to be poor. I don't know if you've heard that statement before, but the thing is, there is kind of exponential gains at the low end of the price range. As you increase the price, you get a lot more value, and then you kind of hit this sweet spot, and then after that, there's kind of the diminishing law of returns kind of really starts to kick in. So for $20, I personally think that this gaming mouse was a great buy. And that leads me to the question, if this was a good buy, is buying a second-hand gaming mouse a good buy for you? Well, there are a few things to consider. So first off, what is your actual budget, and can you actually save money and increase that budget? So if your current budget that you have left to buy a gaming mouse is 20 Singapore dollars, I'm going to keep it in my currency so it's easier for me to explain and understand. Let's say you have $20 to buy a gaming mouse. Okay, you can get, say, maybe a HyperX Pulsefire X. But let's say you are someone who wants the claw grip and you like the G102. That is only $20 more. So you only really need to save up $20. And in that case, I would say save up and get that slightly more expensive mouse, especially if you have the ability to have some extra pocket money, if you have the ability to sell some of your things, or you have the ability to work a little extra overtime and be able to afford a slightly more expensive gaming mouse, then it will make sense to go brand new instead of secondhand. But at the same time, if you are looking at really expensive gaming mouse model, like let's say you are a G502 fanboy. I know I do have a rough history with G502s. In fact, I recently destroyed a G502 on my channel. You can go and check that video out. You know, if you are a G502 fanboy, you love the G502 shape, which I can understand, but you can't afford the G502 Lightspeed and the G502 Hero or whatever it's called now, then you might want to look at a secondhand G502. So because G502 was so ubiquitous, secondhand first gen and second gen G502s, the Proteus Core and the Proteus Spectrums, come in at a very reasonable price, about 40 to 50 Singapore dollars. I've seen them go for, I think I've seen them go for even cheaper at some point. And compared to the $150 502 Lightspeed or Hero, it is actually a great purchase. So it kind of depends. There's a lot of variables at play here. You have to factor in how expensive is the mouse that you really want. Is this second-hand mouse still going to be a good option for you, even though it's not exactly what you want? Can you save up to that mouse that you really want and can last you for multiple years easily? And finally, is it a good idea to spend extra money on a gaming mouse? Because can you afford it? Like, even if you can save up for it, doesn't mean you should buy it. Like, if you're struggling to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck, just save that money and buy a cheap gaming mouse. There's also the other factor that you have to factor in. Well, all the factors that I've kind of talked about earlier kind of tell you whether you should go for secondhand or not. I want to give you some kind of counterpoints to keep in mind when you are shopping for a secondhand gaming mouse. One of that is the fact that a lot of on-run switch gaming mouse, which is the most common switch in gaming mice to this day, is they have a lot of double click issues. I personally have never run into any double click issues with my gaming mice, but I know a lot of people have, and I know a lot of people will scold me if I don't talk about it. So it is a thing. Double click issues is pretty common on gaming mice, especially with on-room switches. So if that secondhand gaming mouse that you want to get seems to be pretty crummy, pretty poorly treated, and has on-run switches, you might want to stay away from that because there might be some added risk there which makes it less worth it. Because if you buy it and it gets double-click issues in a week, then that's a real waste of money, even if the gaming mouse was $10. Because for a $40 gaming mouse, you can get something brand new, and if you take care of it, it generally can last for a pretty good time. And there's other things to consider as well. Gaming mice are kind of personal things. They live in your hand and they live under you flaming into the voice chat. So they are kind of disgusting if you buy them secondhand. If you are a clean freak, then you might want to keep this in mind because palms sweaty, skin cells, all that scabs are on the gaming mouse. I personally don't care. I give my mice a good clean down with some alcohol swabs. I'll use toothbrush and I use it to kind of brush away the dust and all that stuff. Use a vacuum and all that stuff. Once I give my secondhand gaming mice a good clean, I feel perfectly fine with them. But I understand some people are clean freaks and they're a bit more wary, especially with COVID and all that stuff, about germs and kind of disgusting buildups inside secondhand gaming mice. So that's another thing that you have to consider before deciding to go used. And definitely the last thing I would like to point out with secondhand gaming mice is that a lot of the times they don't have the features that you want because they're a bit old. You want wireless, well, the old wireless gaming mice, they're not that great. I would say stay away from any wireless gaming mouse from before 2017 if you want to be like a serious gamer. Like even the G602, which I have recommended in the past, but only as a office mouse, but not a gaming mouse. That's not great for gaming, it's just decent for office work. Like, certain features are not going to appear in your gaming mouse. If you like 8 kilohertz kind of polling rate, or if you want absolute perfect sensor, or you want RGB, or you want really ultra lightweight gaming mice with holes in them, or you want a gaming mice that was specifically tailored for a particular grip, secondhand is going to limit you in your options because, simply put, beggars can't be choosers, and you are just limited by what you have available to you on the secondhand used market, on Craigslist or Carousel or whatever's near you. So you also have to factor that in. And if you're someone with a very particular need for a very particular shape of mice to actually perform well or have a comfortable experience, like you have massive hands or you have really tiny hands, and you need a particular mouse design to actually give you a good experience when you're gaming or just using a computer in general, then I would say in those situations, it's also a better idea to go brand new. So those are all the points, and I think I'm just going to end this video off here and just kind of conclude everything. Is it a good idea to buy a secondhand gaming mouse? I think for most people, if you have the ability to save up another $20, $30, $40 and get closer to the perfect mouse for you, it's better to spend the extra money, buy once, brand new, and take care of it. Make sure you take care of it, and it generally can last you a year or two, and it's going to be much more value than buying something that is not as desirable and might not last you even half as long because it's secondhand. But the thing is, if you're on an absolute shoestring budget, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you just simply cannot afford the extra $20 on a gaming mouse, but you still want to have a good time and game and let go of some stress when you're not stressing about finances, secondhand gaming mouse isn't a bad idea. There's plenty of good options out there, and there's also plenty of people who buy gaming mice but aren't really hardcore gamers. I know a lot of people who buy gaming mice just because they thought, it would be really comfortable for their work from home setup, and then they realize, no, I want a wireless mouse, I don't want a wired mouse, and end up selling it. So like things like that, and they kind of don't really mistreat their gaming mice. But at the same time, I know a lot of people who really have crummy, disgusting gaming mice with like 1 inch on dirt on it. And to those people, especially my friend Sona, I'm looking at you if you watch my videos, but you never do. To those people, well, you don't want to buy a gaming mouse from them because it's dirty and disgusting. So all these things, at the end of the day, just make sure you consider all the options and consider all the pros and cons, especially if a purchase like a gaming mouse is expensive and important purchase to you. I know that is the case for a lot of students, a lot of younger people, a lot of kids like me, that are looking to buy a gaming mouse. If you are someone who the decision is very important, make sure you weigh all the factors, weigh all the options. Hopefully I've given you more insight into this whole idea of buying secondhand gaming mice or buying brand new gaming mice with this video, and hopefully you can make a better purchase decision. This video has gone on long enough, and I think I'm going to end the video off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, which might be tomorrow, the day after, or I don't know when. Hopefully I can upload tomorrow, but it is Chinese New Year and celebrations are in full swing. I'm drinking a nice celebratory cup of Ribena and having a good time. It's 2 AM and I'm just grinding out videos right now. Anyway, I'm going to end this video off here. Goodbye. See you guys tomorrow. I don't know.